When a storm comes, most birds do exactly what you'd expect, right? They hide. They run down to the valley, they seek cover, and they just hunker down as the sky grows dark, the wind becomes deafening, and panic basically spreads like wildfire. One eagle who doesn't hide, he flies directly into the storm. And that core conflict is exactly what we are answering today.
So our story begins not in chaos, but in a remarkably warm, calm, and peaceful valley high up in the mountains. It's a classic setup. On one hand, you have life in the valley. Life here is incredibly easy. The birds sit on low rocks, they scavenge for easy food, they sleep under gentle sunlight. Everything is just safe. But contrast that with the eagle's memory of his youth in the sky. He used to fly high above the mountains. He loved the wide open spaces, the cold, bracing wind, and that absolute, profound feeling of freedom. It's a real battle between that wild instinct for the sky and the lulling, super easy comforts of the valley.
And this is where we see the slippery slope of comfort really take hold. Days pass, and because food is easy to find and there's absolutely zero struggle, the eagle flies less. Then weeks pass, and he rests more. He keeps telling himself, you know what, I'll fly tomorrow. But tomorrow comes and goes. The sky stays quiet, the wind stays soft, and life just stays easy. And as the months roll on, slowly, without him even noticing, his wings become weaker. The comfort was actually a slow trap.
You know, the other birds around him were perfectly happy with this stagnant life. They'd always tell him, why fly so high? The valley is enough. The valley is safe. It's just this constant chorus of contentment. And the eagle listened to them. But the text tells us that deep inside, even as he was enjoying all that comfort, something just felt wrong.
One morning, that quiet valley abruptly changes. The sky slowly turns gray, the air grows incredibly heavy, and thunder rolls across the mountains. The inciting incident is here.
Suddenly, the whole valley is just pure chaos. As the wind kicks up and the rain starts pouring, the flock absolutely erupts in sheer panic. Wings are flapping wildly, birds are screaming, hide and stay low. They're huddling close together, physically shaking with terror, warning anyone who will listen that the storm is going to destroy them. They all rush to hide under the deepest rocks and branches they can find.
But then, picture this. Right in the middle of all that absolute panic, the eagle stands alone on a high rock. The isolation is stark. He's looking up. Fast-moving, pitch-black clouds are churning, lightning is cracking across the sky, and the wind is just pushing so hard against his feathers. He definitely feels the fear. His heart is racing, and those weakened wings of his feel so heavy.
I mean, he knows he could easily just step down, right? He could join the others in the valley, he could stay completely safe. But amidst all that deafening thunder and fear, this inner whisper cuts right through the noise. Just one simple word: fly. The moment the eagle physically confronts the violent forces of nature and honestly, his own internal fears.
Let's actually break down the mechanics of what happens next. It's not a movie montage. It's a struggle. The eagle slowly opens his wings, and bam! The wind slams into him, knocking him backward. Rain is stinging his eyes. He almost backs out, but then he commits. Step 1, he takes a single step forward. Step 2, he runs along the rock. Step 3, he jumps. And step 4, despite the violent wind throwing him all over the place, he spreads his wings wider.
And wow, it is absolutely not an instant victory. The storm just grabs him, thunder explodes right above him. For a terrifying second, the text notes, he actually drops. His wings shake, his entire body trembles, and his own mind is literally screaming at him in absolute terror. Go back! It's the ultimate peak of his struggle.
But right on the heels of that panic, there's that other voice. That tiny, persistent whisper from deep inside that simply says, try. Driven by that whisper, he stops fighting the violent wind and he spreads his wings even wider than before.
So here's the absolute game changer. He leans into the wind, and instead of the storm pushing him down, it slowly begins to push him up. At first, it's just a little lift, then another. He locks his wings, steady and strong. He is literally repurposing the very elements that are trying to destroy him. Every violent gust of wind becomes his power. Every deafening burst of thunder becomes his momentum. He lets the storm carry him, rising higher and higher as the noise of the valley just fades away below him.
The storm clouds completely surround him. For a moment, everything is just dark and gray. And then, suddenly, he bursts through. He enters a completely quiet, entirely new environment.
Talk about a stark contrast. Above the clouds, it's a completely different world. It's a bright, golden sky. Warm sunlight is finally touching his wings. The air is calm, clear, and just so peaceful. But below him, the storm is still roaring, lightning is still flashing, all that fear and panic in the valley is still happening right down there. But from his new, silent vantage point, gliding up in the golden sky, all of that fear just looks incredibly distant and small.
And it's up there, in that quiet sky, that the eagle arrives at this massive, powerful realization. The wind that scares you may be the wind that raises you. The storm that pushes you may be the storm that transforms you. The storm hadn't destroyed him at all. It was actually the very vehicle that lifted him to peace.
This story isn't really about an eagle. It's actually about you. It's about us. Let's decode this allegory for a second. The valley, that represents the comfortable, safe, easy places in our own lives. The places where we aren't challenged, which, just like the eagle, slowly weaken our own wings or our potential. And the storm? Well, the storm represents the inevitable problems that pop up, the pressure that grows, and the fear that rises up in our daily lives.
It's honestly a pretty scary timeline when you think about it. The decay of comfort. Comfort sets in, and because it's so easy, our dreams just kind of fade. Without any real challenges, our courage fades, and ultimately our strength fades. Safety can slowly drain our potential way before a storm ever inevitably appears to test us. We're all faced with a choice. Do we hide in the valley, or do we fly into the storm?
Which brings us to arguably the most profound takeaway from the explainer today. Sometimes the very thing you fear the most is the exact thing that will lift you the highest. That pressure, the difficulty, the raw challenge, that is the wind that provides the lift for your wings, but only if you choose not to run away from it.
So what's our game plan? How do we apply this right now? The text gives us some really great, actionable takeaways. First things first, take just one small step forward, even when the wind is pushing back hard. Open your wings. Make the active, conscious decision to choose courage instead of comfort, and remember the golden rule of the eagle. Weak wings hide from storms, but strong wings rise above them by leaning straight into the roaring winds of life.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to chew on this question. Seriously, take a hard look at your own life right now. Where is your valley? What situation feels super safe but is actually keeping you small? And what storm, what major challenge or difficult step are you actively avoiding that might actually be the very thing needed to lift you higher? Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today. Until next time, don't hide, go out there and spread your wings.